Om Shri Guru Bhyo Namaha Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Sadguru Charanaravinda Bhyam Namaha. Brahma Sutra Chapter 2 Pada 4 Pranotpatyadhikaranam Tata Pranaha Kaunya Sambhavat Tat Prakshutescha Tat Purvakatvat Vachaha Saptagatyadhikaranam Saptagatehe Visheshitatvacha Hastadayastu Stitehe Ato Naivam Prana Anutvadhikaranam Anavascha Prana Shreshtyadhikaranam Shreshtascha Vayukriyadhikaranam Na Vayukriye Pritak Upadeshat Chakshuradivattu Tat Sahasishtyadibhyaha Akaranatvacha Na Doshaha Tatahi Darshayati Pancha Vrittir Manovat Yapidishyate Shreshtanutvadhikaranam Anuscha Jyotiradhyadhikaranam Jyotiradi Adhishtanam tu Tadamananat Pranavata Shabdat Tasya cha Nityatvat Indriyadhikaranam Ta Indriyani Tad Vyavadeshat Yatra Shreshtat Bheda Shrutehe Vailakshanyacham. First, let us do the general analysis of this sutra. Vyasacharya says that prana and sense organs have separate function. They have two different functions. Mukhya prana does the maintenance function, and survival is not considered as one of the transactions, but survival is the main deed for the function. And the indriyas are meant for transactions in life. That is why the superiority and inferiority of the living being is measured in terms of transaction, but not on the basis of the survival. And all living beings are graded uniformly, but the differences amongst living beings are based on the functions or transactions only. And the gradation is possible by transactions, and therefore transactions are totally separate functions where alone tripti comes. Namely, Adhyatmam, Adidaivam, and Adibodham, all those functions come. And because of this only, we find another very important difference. The transaction come and go. In Jagrata Avastha, we have transactions. In Swapna Avastha, we have dream transactions. And in Sushupti, we have no transactions at all. But prana and its functions, they continue. One is essential service, prana, and the others are secondary service, but they are needed for survival. And the function difference is the third reason for the distinction. And now let us do the word analysis of the sutra. We saw up to here in the last class. Vailakshanya cha, that is a sutra. Because of the distinct nature, Vailakshanyam, also cha, they are different. Now let us see the significance of the words. Vailakshanya means distinct nature. That means what? Sense organs can stop in Sushupti, but prana cannot. So before we conclude this adhikaranam, we have to refute the Purvapakshi and Ekadeshi also. And Ekadeshi says that they should be taken as one principle. And for that purpose, he gave the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Vakyam as a support, which says all the sense organs said, then let us assume the nature of prana. I told you that story. They all assumed. They said, let us all assume the nature of prana. And here Shankaracharya points out that sense organs assume the nature of prana, and it does not mean that they have become one with prana. They assume the nature of prana. And since sense organs are not active in Sushupti, we say sense organs borrow Kriya Shakti from prana, just as the electricity lends power to different gadgets in the house or everywhere. Then we have to refute the Purvapakshi, and they said they are contradictory, because the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Vakyam should be taken as though prana, because they borrow Kriya Shakti. Prana is born out of what? Rajo Guna. If you remember Tattva-bodham, Vayoho Rajasham Syat Pranendriyam Sambhutam. So from the Rajasic aspect of Vayu, Therefore, it has Kriya Shakti and lends Kriya Shakti to all the sense organs. And with this, the 8th Adhikaranam is over. And in the 8th and the 5th Adhikaranams of this chapter, of this pada, the Purvapakshi and Ekadeshi try to do one job. There is a slight difference though between them. In the 5th Adhikaranam, Ekadeshi said, prana is one of the aspects of sense organs. 5th Adhikaranam, he said, prana is one of the aspects of sense organs. Here, sense organs become independent tattvam, and prana is taken as part. But in the 8th Adhikaranam, Ekadeshi talks of the opposite. They say prana is independent tattvam, but the others, they come under different plane. That is Ekadeshi's claim. So this is the attempt of Ekadeshi. And Siddhanta establishes that neither prana is an aspect of sense organs, nor the sense organs are an aspect of prana. So this is the essence of this Adhikaranam. Now let us go to the next Adhikaranam. Samya Murti Klipti Adhikaranam. That is the name of this Adhikaranam. Samya Murti Klipti Adhikaranam. Ninth Adhikaranam of this pada. Samya Murti Kliptistu Trivrit Kurvatam Upadeshat. This is the 20th Sutra of the 4th pada. Second chapter, 289th running Brahma Sutra. First, let us give a general introduction to this Adhikaranam. And in the previous 8 Adhikaranams, various aspects regarding Sukshma Shariram were given. They dealt with either Mukhya Prana or Gauna Prana or Indriyani. Gauna Prana or Indriyas. And they come under Bhautikam. They talked of Sukshma Bhautika Srishti, creation of Sukshma Bhautika Srishti. And the previous pada, 3rd pada, that talked about the Bhuta Srishti. And here, Bhautika Srishti. And this Bhautika Prapancha itself can be divided into 2 portions, namely Sukshma Bhautika Prapancha, subtle universe, and also Stula Bhautika Prapancha, the gross universe. Now let us deal with the Stula Bhautika Prapancha Srishti. That is the topic. And with respect to this topic, whatever seeming differences are there, they have to be now resolved. This is the subject matter of this particular Adhikaranam. And here also we will have Purvapakshi, Ekadeshi, and Siddhanta. And the first Shruti Vakyam that they take is from Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter, 3rd section, 2nd mantra. And the mantra says, Seyam Devata Ikshata, Hantaha Mimaha, Tisro Devata Anena, Jivena Atmana, Anupravishya, Nama Rupe, Vyakaravaniti. That is the mantra from the 6th chapter of Chandogya that is taken for discussion here. And the essence of the sentence is what? Brahman alone was there with Maya Shakti, and this Brahman decided to create. And he created what? Not 5 elements, 3 elements. This Chandogya context, we should remember. He created 3 elements. And we should know 3 is equal to 5 elements. That is, we have to understand that. This explanation also we have given earlier. So Upanishad talks about the Sukshma Bhuta Srishti, subtle Bhuta Srishti, and not Sukshma Prapancha Srishti. And that we have to supply actually. Now what is left out is the gross universe has to be created. Sukshma Prapancha, after that Srishti is over, gross Prapancha has to be created. And before creating this gross universe, namely the Stula Prapancha, Brahman thinks, as it were, Brahman thinks, let me enter Sukshma Prapancha in the form of Jiva. These words are all important because we are going to have discussions on them. Let me enter Sukshma Prapancha, subtle universe in the form of Jiva. So Sukshma Prapancha implies what? All the Sukshma Shariram also. Sukshma Prapancha includes all the Sukshma Shariras. And Brahman thinks, let me enter the Sukshma Shariram in the form of Jiva. And having entered the Sukshma Shariram as Jiva, let me then create the Stula Prapancha, the gross universe. So the expression used here for Stula Prapancha is Nama Rupa here. Not as Stula Prapancha, but Nama Rupa, names and forms. And Nama Rupa is equal to Stula Bhautika Prapancha. And Vyakaravani, that means let me create. In the sutra, we read the thing in the mantra, Vyakaravani, that means let me create. And if you read the sentence, it looks let me enter Sukshma Prapancha in the form of Jiva and let me create Sthula Prapancha. That is how it reads. So it appears as if Jiva created Sthula Prapancha, because Lord said, let me enter into Jiva and create Sthula Prapancha. So it may appear that Jiva created the Sthula Prapancha and not Brahma. And therefore, Chandogya Upanishad creates an impression that the Jiva is Srishtikarta of Sthula Prapancha. The Jiva is the Srishtikarta, creator of the gross universe. There is no confusion about the Sukshma Prapancha Srishti. For subtle universe, no confusion at all. After the Sukshma Srishti, having entered, Jiva entered the Jiva created, and it seems to be Jiva seems to be the Karta of Sthula Prapancha Srishti. And the name used for Sthula Prapancha Srishti is Nama Rupa Vyakarana. That is what is used. This is Vakyam number 1. And there is another Vakyam, another sentence also Acharya takes, that is from Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, 1st chapter, 4th section, 7th mantra, and that says, Taddedam tarhi avyakritam asit tan nama rupabhyameva vyakriyata asau namayam idagam rupa iti tadidam apye tarhi nama rupabhyameva vyakriyate asau namayam idagam rupa iti. Avyakritam refers to Brahman, the Ishvara, the creator, or Maya Sahitam Brahman. And that Brahman alone projected, expanded all the Nama Rupas, which included the Sthula Prapancha Srishti, the gross universe. And the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says that Brahman created all the Nama Rupas or the Sthula Prapancha, gross universe. Brahman created. Whereas Nama Rupa Vyakaranam is done by Jiva as per Chandogya Upanishad. Since Upanishads are contradicting themselves, Purvapakshi as usual says, do not study Vedas, according to Purvapakshi. Then comes Ekadeshi, and he wants to resolve in his peculiar way so that Shruti should be vindicated and validated according to him. So his intention is good. And he says, Chandogya Upanishad alone should be correct. Jiva alone is the creator of Sthula Bhaudika Prapancha. Ishvara can be the creator of Sukshma Prapancha, but Sthula Prapancha is created by Jiva only. That is Ekadeshi's contention. And Jiva should be taken as the creator of Sthula Prapancha. Therefore, Jiva becomes Karta. Now, Ekadeshi has to explain the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Vakyam. Again, he resolves the seeming contradiction in his own peculiar way. And Ekadeshi says, when Brihadaranyaka Upanishad says Ishvara is the creator of the gross universe Sthula Prapancha, you have to split the Vakyam into two, namely, Ishvara is the direct creator of Sukshma Prapancha, the subtle universe, whereas with respect to Sthula Prapancha, Ishvara is only an indirect creator. Ishvara comes in the form of Jiva, and as Jiva creates the Sthula Prapancha. Therefore, Ishvara is creator of all, in one case directly as Ishvara, and in another case indirectly as Jivaha. Therefore, ultimately, God is the Karta of everything, is the doer of everything, creator of everything. Thus, there is no contradiction. This is Ekadeshi Mata. Now, Siddhanti comes and he answers in Sutra 20. And let us first do the general analysis of this Sutra 20. He says, Ishvara or Brahman alone is creator of Sthula Prapancha also. That is the conclusion he makes. Siddhanti's conclusion. Ishvara or Brahman alone is the creator of the gross Prapancha, gross universe. And Vyasacharya, he asks us to observe the Chandogya Upanishad Vakyam clearly, carefully. He says, let me enter Jivaha. That's what the Lord said. Let me enter Jivaha and create the Sthula Prapancha, the gross universe. And Vyasacharya says, study the next sentence to get the clarity. Don't stop here. Which is, Brahman wanted to enter the Jiva and create Sthula Prapancha. Brahman wanted to enter Jiva and create Sthula Prapancha. Remember, Sthula Prapancha can be created only after creation of Sukshma Prapancha. It's all Tattvabodha topics. The Sthula Prapancha, gross universe, can be created only after the creation of Sukshma Prapancha. Gross elements are not born before creation of the subtle world. Subtle is the Sukshma Prapancha and gross elements is Sthula Prapancha. So first he creates the gross elements and then he wants to create Sthula Prapancha. So first he creates gross elements and then he creates the Prapancha, the universe, from individual Vyakti to Samashti. Therefore he creates the gross elements. And here there is Jiva reference in this context. So let me grossify, the Lord said, let me grossify and create the gross universe. This grossification and all Panchikaranam, this is all topics in Tattvabodha. We have seen them in detail. I mentioned earlier also. So let me grossify and create the gross universe. And we come to know from this that Ishvara alone is the creator of the gross universe also. So the second part of the Chandogya Upanishad Vakyam resolves the confusion. What's the confusion? Jiva created the universe. So here, let me create means that me, that refers to Ishvara alone and not Jiva. Since Brahman thought in the beginning, the let me, that refers to Brahman alone and not Jiva, because Brahman alone thought in the beginning that he will create. So thus Jiva is neither the creator of elements nor the elementals. He is neither the creator of the elements nor the elementals. Now let us see the word analysis. What is the sutra? Sanya Murti Kliptistu Trivrit Kurvatam Upadeshat. Sanya Murti Kliptihi. Creation of the gross names and forms. Tu means indeed, the function. Trivrit Kurvataha, of Brahman who created the gross elements. This is running meaning I'm giving. I will explain the words. And Upadeshat means since it is mentioned in this Shruti statement. Now let us look at the significance of each of these words. Samya Murtihi. Nama refers to Nama Rupa. Here Nama Rupa refers to the gross universe or Srishtihi. Tu means this word is for negating the Purupakshi and Ekadeshi. That is why this, when you say however, that means you are coming with something else. So tu means this word is indeed is for negating the Purupakshi and Ekadeshi. Trivrit Kurvataha. Trivrit Kurvataha means the one who grossifies. The grossification takes place from the subtle to the gross. And in the case of subtle elements, each one is pure without the mixture of others in terms of subtle prapancha. All the subtle elements, each one is pure without the mixture of any other element. They are all mixed up in particular proportions in grossification. When the elements get mingled together, grossification takes place. This is Panchikaranam, topic of Tattvabodha. When they mix together, there are proportions. That also we will say briefly later. And every gross element is a mixture of 5 subtle elements. So if you take gross Akasha, then gross Akasha is mixture of the 5 subtle elements, all the 5 elements in different proportions. So this grossification process is given in Taittiriya Upanishad and it is called Panchikaranam, and in Chandogya Upanishad it is given Chandogya, it is given as Trivrit Karana. So that Panchikaranam, here it is Trivrit Karana. If you remember, only 3 elements are talked here. And the Lord who brings in this Srishti is called Trivrit Karman. Come on, who like Brahman? Trivrit Karman. And the creation of the gross universe is the function of the Lord who creates the 3 gross elements. And the last word is Upadeshat. Upadeshat, that refers to because of the clear, the second statement of Chandogya Upanishad. First statement, there is some vagueness, and that's why Vyasacharya asked us to read the second statement clearly. And Chandogya Upanishad, second statement. And what is the first statement? Seyam Devata Ikshatam Hantaha Mimas Tistro Devata Anena. That is the first sentence. And there is some vagueness here, as we have pointed out. And the second statement, Jivenam Atmanam Anupravishya Nama Rupe Vyakaravaniti. Jiva reference is not there and it is clear. There is no Jiva reference here, and it's really clear, because only when Jiva comes, that's a problem. Brahman alone created the universe also. And Shankaracharya in his commentary, he gives a couple of more reasons also. And he says, in the first statement, Sayam Devadekshada Hantaha Mimaps Tisrao Devata Anena, in that first statement, in that what happens, that there is no vagueness at all. There is no vagueness. If you study the sentence clearly, what does the first sentence say? Having entered Sukshma Prapancha as Jiva, let me create Sthula Prapancha. That is what the Lord thought. Having entered Sukshma Prapancha as Jiva, the subtle universe as Jiva, let me create Sthula Prapancha, gross universe. And Shankaracharya argues that as Jiva, the expression is associated with entry only. So all kinds of hair splitting. The expression entry, it's for Jiva, the expression is associated only with the process of entry alone. It is not associated with the verb of creation. It is associated only with the verb of entry. There are two verbs, of which one refers to entry into what? Sukshma Prapancha, the subtle universe, and the second one is the verb of creation of the Sthula Prapancha, the gross universe. So of these two, Jivena Atmana as Jiva is associated only with the entry and not associated with the creation of Sthula Srishti. Therefore, it is clear Jiva intervention is not there with respect to Sthula Srishti, gross universe. Okay. And if Jiva intervention is there in both cases, let us assume, then the reading should be how? Jivena Atmana Anupravishya Jivena Atmana Vyakaravani. It should have been there in both the places. Why are you then unnecessarily dragging the expression here and getting it confused? That's what Shankaracharya is saying. This is the second argument given by Shankaracharya. And he gives one more argument also. And he says, even if you somehow drag, saying that Jiva only created, saying Jivena Atmana twice, if you did that, as we read in the just now, as Jiva, I enter the Sukshma Prapancha, the subtle universe, and as Jiva, I created the Sthula Prapancha also. Even if you want to drag it that way also, even though grammatically you may be able to manage, but logically it is not proper. It cannot be done at all. Why? Because Jiva is not capable of even building a small house in his lifetime. It's a miserable Jiva, Alpagyaha, Alpashaktiman, Alpeshwaraha, Anishaya, Shochati Mukhyamaha. Such a Jiva it is. He has time only to cry. Where is the question of creating the galaxies, the sun, moon, stars, continents, mountains, rivers, oceans, all that? He cannot even understand the creation. How can he create the world? That is so it is not logical to say Jiva created the world. Therefore, Jivasya yogyata abhavat Sthula Prapancha Vyakarta Jivaha na bhavati. These are the two arguments given by Shankaracharya. And he gives one more Shruti support also, because one confusion is with respect to what? Sthula Prapancha Srishti, gross universe, creation of the gross universe, that is the doubt. And what is the technical word used here? Nama Rupa Vyakaranam. That's what is used in the Upanishad. Now Shankaracharya says, let us search the Upanishad elsewhere and see whether there is some clarity. Because sometimes you can get clarity in somewhere else in the same Upanishad or in some other Upanishad also. We have used certain occasions to discuss this even when we discuss many Upanishads, especially Chandogya and Brihadaranyaka. And he says, the 8th chapter, 14th section, first mantra of Chandogya makes it very clear, without any doubt, that Brahman created the Sthula Prapancha, the gross universe. Akasho vai nama, nama rupa yoho nirvahita. Actually, we have analyzed this point actually in the third pada, first chapter, 12th sutra, Brahma Sutra. Itself, this point we have seen there. That sutra was what? Anya bhava vyavrittescha. That was the sutra there. We have seen this point there. There we have analyzed. It is clearly said that Brahman alone is the creator. There Akasha means Brahman. That also we mentioned at that time. Akasho vai nama. That Akasha refers to Brahman. Brahman alone is Nama Rupa Vyakarta. Nama Rupa refers to gross prapancha that we already mentioned. There it is very clearly said, without introducing Jiva, there is no mention of Jiva there at all. Therefore, Stula Prapancha Srishti, gross universe creation, is done by Brahman and not by Jiva. That's the conclusion. So, in fact, with this sutra, this Adhikaranam itself is over. And the next two sutras of this Adhikaranam are only incidental sutras. And therefore, here itself, we will also see the refutation of the Ekadeshi and Purvapakshi also. Because I told this all these three has to be included. Ekadeshi, what did he say? Jiva alone is the creator of Stula Prapancha. And what was his reason? Jivena Atmana Anupravishya. Clearly said. Because Brahman entered into Jiva. And to the Ekadeshi, what is our answer? Jiva does not have the capacity to create Stula Prapancha. Therefore, Jiva is not created. It is not logical. Jiva is incapable of creating Stula Prapancha, gross universe, so he cannot be the creator. Then Ekadeshi asked the question, if Jiva is not involved in the creation of Stula Prapancha, then why should the Upanishad talk about the Brahman entering the Jiva at all? Upanishad doesn't have to use that particular statement at all. Anupravesha Shruti. So Upanishad need not introduce the topic of entry, Anupravesha, as Jiva, and what is the purpose of this Anupravesha? This is Ekadeshi's question. And for which Shankaracharya says that the entry as Jiva is mentioned because Stula Prapancha Srishti is for whom? Stula Prapancha Srishti is only for the sake of Jiva. Ishvara does not create a creation, need a creation. He doesn't require a creation. He doesn't require a body or the gross universe for clearing the Punya Papam or Moksha. Ishvara doesn't require any of this. It is clarified actually in the Mandukya Karika. We have seen this in some other context. In the second chapter, 16th Karika, it is second. So there it is already said, Jivam kalpayate purvam tato bhavan pratak vidane bahyanadhyamit atmikam chaivam adhyatmikam chaivam yata vidyas tata smritihi. And that is the sloka there. Jiva is created first. Jivam kalpayate purvam, first. And for the sake of Jiva, world is created. Without Jiva, world has no relevance. Even for Ishvara, world is not required. Therefore, Anupravishya, Brahman entered as Jiva, and thereafter, Jiva did not create. Brahman itself created the world also for Jiva. Only for Jiva it was created because that is the locus where Punya Papas can be exhausted. Therefore, Ekadeshi is not correct. Finally, Purvapakshi also is not correct because there is no contradiction between Brihadaranyaka Upanishad and Chandogya Upanishad Vakyams because Brahman alone is the creator as per both of them because that was clarified. There is a seeming contradiction because of Anupravesha Shruti, the entry Shruti, but on analysis, there is no contradiction at all as we saw just now. With this, really this Adhikaranam is over. But two incidental points are to be discussed in the next two sutras, so we will see them also to complete the Adhikaranam. Mamsadi Bhaumam Yata Shabdam Itarayoscha. Mamsadi Bhaumam Yata Shabdam Itarayoscha is the sutra, 21st sutra, 4th pada, 2nd chapter, 219th running Brahma Sutra. First, let us do the general analysis of this sutra. In the previous sutra, the Stula Bhautika Shrishti was talked about. Stula gross Bhautika Shrishti, gross universe. And Stula Prapancha was talked about also. And here, Stula Sharira Srishti is talked about. Prapancha Srishti is over. Now here, Sharira Srishti, gross body is talked about. And it is also born out of the Lord alone indirectly. This gross body also is born out of the Lord only, indirectly out of the Stula Bhutas. Stula Bhutas means we should immediately understand they are the grossified elements. Stula Bhutas are the grossified elements. So, Bahyaha Stula Prapanchaha and Adhyatmika Stula Shariram cha, both. So the external Sthula Prapancha universe and also the Sthula Shariram also, body. And this is discussed actually in the 6th chapter of Chandogya, 5th section, and section 1 to 3. All those various mantras, they talk about this. And there the Upanishad points out as to how the 3 elements are responsible for the Sthula Shariram. In Chandogya context, there are 3 elements that we have already told. So 3 elements of Chandogya is equal to 5 elements of the 3 and all. So there the Upanishad points out as to how the 3 elements are responsible for the grass body, and it talks about 3 parts of each element also. 3 parts of each element. Earth has 3 parts. That is grass part, subtle part, and subtlest part. Similarly, earth, Jalam, Agni, all of them. And out of the 3 portions, 3 items are created. And actually, we saw it in detail then. For example, I will only briefly say here, from earth element, what are the 3 things created? Malam, Mamsa, and Manaha. Malam, Mala, Mamsa. Malam means what? Grass waste. That is Malam. That is born out of the grosser part of the earth, the waste. And Mamsa, Mamsa means flesh. Flesh born out of subtle part of earth. So from the grosser part, Malam comes. Waste, gross waste, and subtle part, Mamsam comes, that is from of earth, and from the subtlest part, Manas comes, Manaha. And this is with respect to earth. And with respect to water, Jalam, what are the 3? Mutra, Rakta, and Prana. Mutra is urine, and Rakta is blood, and Prana. These 3 are created out of water. So Mutra from the grossest form, Raktam, that is the blood, from the subtle form, and Prana is from the subtlest form of water. And from the fire, from Agni, Asti, the bone, Majja, the bone marrow, and Vak, the speech. These 3 things are created. So from the 3 elements, what are those? Earth, Jalam, and fire. 3 elements, 9 parts of the Shariram are created. And this is just indicated, and there is no Purva Pakshi, Ekadeshi, Siddhanta, and also discussion here. This is only indicated here just as a reference. And we will see the word analysis now. What is the sutra? Mamsadi bhaumam yatha shabdam itarayoscha. That is the sutra. So Mamsadi means from flesh, etc. Adi Shabdat, etc. And bhaumam means they are products of the earth. Itarayohocha. Itarayohocha means we have to supply products of other, what are the other elements? Itara elements. They are only Agni and the water. So the other 2 elements also should be known. Yata Shabdam, as revealed, Shabda here refers to Shruti Vedas, as revealed in the Shruti. Now let us see the significance of the words. Mamsadi, Mamsam, flesh, etc. Mamsa, Malam, Manaha, these 3 are. So, Bhauma, they are the products of the earth. All these 3 are products of the earth. Gross, subtle, and subtlest part of the earth respectively. Itarayoho, the products of the other 2 elements. And how many? 3 products each. Itarayoho means other 2, namely Agni and water. So, earth was discussed, and Agni and water the other 2. And what are they? Yata Shabdam, that we have completed the Chandogya Upanishad before. So according to Chandogya Shruti, we have already seen that. So Yata Shabdam, whatever is given there. So Vyasacharya does not give anything else more here. He says go back to Chandogya and from 6.5.1 to 3 and understand from there. So Shabda means Shabda Pramanam Chandogya here, Chandogya Upanishad. Thus Bahya Bauddhika Srishti is over. Antara Bauddhika Srishti is also over. Bahya, the grass prapancha, and Antara means the individual body also is over. Then comes the last sutra. Vaiseshyathu tadvadas tadvadaha. Vaiseshyathu tadvadas tadvadaha. This is the 22nd sutra, 4th pada, 2nd chapter, 291, running Brahma Sutra. This is also an incidental information only, as I mentioned earlier. First, let us do the general analysis of this sutra. And we pointed out before, for creating the gross elements, the Lord, he mixes all the 5 or all the 3 elements for grossification, I told. Therefore, each gross element will have all the 5 elements. Also, all the 5 subtle elements, each gross element will have. And we have seen the proportion of the mixture in Tattva Bodha. Please refer to those lectures. For example, if you take gross Akasha, the Stula Akasha, gross Akasha, the gross Akasha is a mixture consisting of Akasha itself, that is 50%. 1/2 of the total is the subtle Akasha, plus 1/8 of Vayu, 1/8 of Agni, 1/8 of water, and 1/8 of earth. All the 4 put together is another half. So 1/2 is Akasha, and the other half is made up of all these other 4 elements. So it makes one full Akasha, gross Akasha. So it is a mixture of all the 5 in different proportions. Similarly, gross Vayu will have 1/2 of subtle Vayu, and 1/8 of Akasha, 1/8 of Agni, 1/8 of water, 1/8 of earth. Like that for all the 5 elements. Therefore, the question is what? If Akasha itself has got all the 5 elements, then why you call it Akasha? You should say a mixture perhaps, or name all the 5. And why do you name gross Akasha as Akasha even when Akasha has got all 5 elements? For that, the reason we give is, in the gross Akasha element is dominant. Subtle Akasha only is dominant in the gross Akasha. 1/2 is Akasha, whereas the rest is all 1/8 each. Therefore, name is given on domination basis. Now let us see the word analysis. What is the sutra? Vaisheshyatu tadvadas tadvadaha. Tadvadaha tu. The particular name of a particular gross element. Let us say we said Akasha, of any particular element, the particular name. Vaisheshyat. The particular name is because of the predominance, Vaisheshya, of a particular element. Predominance of the particular element, the name is given. Then the word tadvadaha, tadvadas tadvadaha is there. It is repeated once again to indicate the end of 2nd chapter. So tadvadaha, the particular name, it is repeated twice, essentially to indicate the end of the 2nd chapter. Not only the end of the 9th adhikaranam of the 2nd chapter, of the 4th pada, it is the end of the 4th pada also, and the end of the 2nd chapter. And also the chapter end is indicated by repeating the last word. If you remember, the first chapter, it ended with Vyakhyata, Vyakhyata. So it ended also by repeating the words. So here also is ended like this. So the 2nd chapter ends with Tadvada, Tadvada. So with this, the 2nd chapter of Brahma Sutra is successfully over. And people use such techniques of repeating and all that thing. For example, even in Shakespeare drama, they will have when a scene ends, they will have an iambic couplet. As in, if all will be all blank words, so he will put an iambic couplet at the end. So these are people use several techniques to indicate the ending or start. They do various techniques. So in prosody, these things are all that. Now let us go to the 3rd chapter. Introduction. Let us give a brief introduction to the 3rd chapter first before we go to the chapter proper. And this chapter is called Sadhana Adhyaya. As the word itself shows, sadhana means preparatory disciplines, sadhanas, to gain Vedantic teaching, which has been established in the last 2 chapters. So this is called Sadhana Adhyaya. And this Adhyaya also has got 4 padas or 4 sections. And all the 4 sections, they deal with varieties of sadhanas only. The first pada, the topic is Jiva Gati Vicharaha. It deals with the travel. Gati means travel. The travel of Jiva from body to body. Inquiry into the travel of Jiva from body to body, Shariram to Shariram, Loka to Loka, from this world to next world, and all, because of which life is called samsara. So the purpose of the samsara vichara is what? To develop vairagyam, which is a prerequisite to develop interest in Vedanta. Because ultimately one has to come to Vedanta if one wants moksha. Interest in Vedanta is directly proportional to disinterest in samsara. They are directly proportional to disinterest in samsara or vairagya sadhana. So the 2nd pada deals with tattvam padarthas. So first pada deals with this various sadhanas and samsara vichara. And the second pada deals with tat tvam padarthas. The tat pada and tvam pada both vichara. So the inquiry into the tvam padartha and tat padartha, both the inquiries are done. And tvam refers to, as you know, in Tattvamasi, tvam refers to Jivatma Swarupam and tat pada refers to Paramatma Swarupam in Tattvamasi. And only if you know the meaning of tat and tvam, you can understand the meaning of the Mahavakyam Tattvamasi. This all we know, but just only I'm mentioning that. So there's a need for us to know tat and tvam padas. And there's a basic law that the knowledge of a sentence, this may look obvious to us, but in Nyaya Shastra and all, they make all these things explicitly clear. Mimamsa very bad. Basically, as what the knowledge of a sentence requires the knowledge of the meaning of the constituent words occurring in the sentence. So, Padartha Jnanam is the sadhanam for Vakyartha Jnanam. See how it is being interpreted. Padartha Jnanam is the sadhanam for Vakyartha Jnanam. Therefore, Padartha Vichara is essential. The inquiry into the Padartha, the meaning of the words, is essential for Mahavakya Jnanam, to understand Mahavakyam. And therefore, Tat Tvam Padartha Vichara is there in the second pada. That is the context. And the third pada deals with varieties of upasanas. And upasana is required for concentration, focus, chitta ekagrata, all that thing we have told. And then the fourth and final pada that deals with anya sadhana vicharas. The vichara inquiry into all other sadhanas, like the role of sannyasa, for example, in gaining brahmajnanam, and the role of sadhana chatushraya sampatti. All those things are also discussed, anya sadhanas. That is all done in the fourth pada. So this is the structure. So having introduced now the third chapter, now let us go to the first pada of the third chapter, first section. And the first pada, it deals with, as I mentioned, jiva gatihi, the path, the travel after death of a jiva. And this occurs actually in several places, in Veda Anta Bhaga also, and in the Veda Purva Bhaga also. And Vyasacharya deals with a particular portion occurring in Vedanta Bhaga, Vedanta, called Panchagni Vidya. It is dealt with in the entire pada of this particular chapter. This occurs actually in two Upanishads. We have seen them in great detail. One is in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, 6th chapter, 2nd section, and also in Chandogya Upanishad, 5th chapter, 3rd section to the 10th section. We have seen this in elaborate terms at that time. Please refer to those lectures. And Vyasacharya takes the Chandogya Upanishad portion here. And until this pada is over, this entire pada is over, I will request you to go through the Chandogya Upanishad Prakarana. These sections which I mentioned to you, 5.3 to 5.10. I will give the essence of Panchagni Vidya here, briefly. Here, the Upanishad talks about travel of Jiva after giving up the gross body until it takes another body. And this Shastra alone is to be talked about because it is Apaurusheya Vishaya. People cannot verify that by any pramanas. It is Apaurusheya, only we have to depend on Shruti, scriptures. So until death, whatever happens, I can see. However, what happens after death, I do not know. What happens to me? So the Upanishad points out that the departed Jiva goes through 5 locations before becoming another embodied Jiva. Mark my words, embodied Jiva, once again. So getting another body, getting another gross body. So each location is called, 5 stages we said, and each location is called an Agni figuratively. So 5 Agni means 5 locations. Panchagni means 5 locations. Panchagnayaha. And when Jiva passes through each location, each stage, we can say as it were, it gets a particular transformation. This Jiva, after death, goes through these 5 stages, and each stage as it passes through, it goes through a particular transformation. It is invisible to us. So it is Apaurusheya Vishaya gets Apaurusheya transformation, invisible transformation. Such all only scriptures say. Nobody verified. We don't know. Such transformations we see even in our manufacturing process. This is not new to us as a concept. The raw materials, they go through several stages, and ultimately they comes through at the end as a finished product, which is completely different from the raw material. Similarly, Bhagavan has got a human assembly line with 5 locations, 5 stages. And the 5 locations are said as what? Swarga, then Megha, Megha the clouds, Parjanya, and Bhumi the earth, Purusha and Nari. Nari is women, Purusha is male and female. So Jiva enters every one of them and goes through transformation with additions at each stage, and when it comes to the out of the 5th Agni, namely the Nari, the female Agni, the cooking is complete. It's cooking as it were. It gets cooked because we mentioned Agni, it gets cooked everywhere. So transformation takes place with the help of Agni alone everywhere. Even for babies, they require a temperature for ripening. Thus, all the 5 are like incubators, are like womb, and each one cooks Jiva, each one of those stages. And a well-cooked Jiva, as it were, Swamiji uses these words, a well-cooked Jiva is ready for consumption by the society. Like a well-cooked food is ready for consumption. So here, well-cooked Jiva is ready for consumption by the society. So Vyavahara, so the Vyavahara Yogyatvam, that comes. When baby comes out after the 5th stage, then the baby can be in the society to transact. So Upanishad presents all of them as a subject matter for meditation, upasana, understand. So each of the stages are mentioned for meditation. Therefore, it is called Pancha Agni Vidya, and Vidya here means upasana. All this we have mentioned in those lectures in great detail. Please refer to that. And this comes in the form of a dialogue. This Panchagni Vidya itself, that topic, comes in the form of a dialogue between a king called Jaivali and a rishi called Gautama. That's Samvada Rupena. And in Chandogya Upanishad, it is all about the story told in the Upanishad. Here, Swetaketu, the son of Gautama, the rishi, after receiving a complete teaching from his father, he goes to the king Jaivali, to his court. And on reaching the king's court, the king asked Swetaketu 5 questions about Panchagni Vidya, which Swetaketu could not answer. So he told the king that he has learned everything. He could not answer these 5 questions. So he gets humiliated naturally and goes back to his father. And he asked his father why he did not teach the Panchagni Vidya to him. Then his father Gautama tells him that he himself did not know anything about Panchagni Vidya, and he goes to the king and requests him to teach him the Vidya. So thus the dialogue between Jaivali and Gautama takes place, and the outcome of that dialogue is called Panchagni Vidya, enumerated in Chandogya. Here is an instance where the Brahmana, the rishi, goes to the Kshatriya king to learn Panchagni Vidya. That is why, if you notice, I use the word dialogue, samvada. I didn't use the word teaching, because when a Kshatriya teaches a Brahmana, they normally is called a discussion, dialogue. And because in certain positions also, for example, when a young person gets to sannyasa, very young age, he has to be taught a lot of things. Age is very young, he has not learned a lot of shastras yet, he has to be taught. So some teacher has to teach, but they won't directly teach him. There will be also another student with him. So they will teach that student, and in the process, this Acharya, this sannyasi also will learn. Because of reverence, they don't directly teach such people. So here the Kshatriya, it's only a dialogue. So that's what Jaivali tells him, let us go for a walk and discuss. Then telling him, I'll teach you. Otherwise, he has to do namaskaram to him, he has to do so many things, tadviti pranipatana pariprashna sevaya, all those things he has to do. So that cannot do. So that's the reason he makes it this process like that. So this will be dealt with in the entire first pada. And this pada has 6 adhikaranams with 27 sutras. And this is the background of this first pada, of the 3rd chapter. Now let us enter into the first adhikaranam and the first topic. Adhikaranam is a topic. Here we will find out that what is the subject matter, what is the doubt and discuss what is Purvapakshi, Siddhanti, all that thing we have to do. And here subject matter is Jiva Gatihi, I have already told, travel of the disembodied Jiva after death. Therefore, it is invisible. The doubt is the Jiva travels with what all factors? What is the luggage carried by the Jiva? When the Jiva dies, we can call it what the luggage or baggage. We know certain basic things that we know. The Chidabhasa will travel, that we know. The reflected consciousness will travel. This I mentioned earlier. The Chit part of Jiva, the conscious, original consciousness, will it travel or not? It will not travel. Why? Because it is all pervading. Chidabhasa is not, but Chit is all pervading. So there is no travel for the Chit. Chidabhasa will travel. Chidabhasa part of Jiva alone travels. And the reflecting medium. What is the reflecting medium? Mind, manas. That also travels. And it represents the entire Sukshma Sharira. Prana, Antakaranam, Jnanendriyas, Karmendriyas, the entire bundle. I've already told this. All this I have seen. And third, another factor is the Karana Shariram. Even though it's not mentioned here, it also travels. So, Karana Shariram, Sukshma Shariram, and Chidabhasa. All three are traveling. Now, the question is, when the disembodied Jiva travels, does it have the Stula Shariram during the travel after death? Is the doubt. People may think this is a stupid doubt because Stula Shariram is cremated here. So, when the disembodied Jiva travels, does it have the gross body during travel after death? This is the doubt. Then Purvapakshi says that the disembodied Jiva travels without the gross body because it is already destroyed, cremated, buried, whatever. And in support of this, the Purvapakshi gives a Shruti Vakyam also. One example he gives is Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, 4th chapter, 4th section, 2nd mantra. It says, Sharira Deshebhyah Tam, we have quoted this mantra earlier also. Sharira Deshebhyah Tam Utkramantam Pranaha Anutkramati Pranam Anutkramantagum Sarve Pranaha Anutkramanti. This mantra we have read earlier. When the Chidabhasa leaves the body after death, along with it, what also travels? Prana also travels. It says. Prana also gets out along with it and goes. Then the Upanishad says, when the Mukhya Prana leaves the body, along with Chidabhasa, Gauna Pranas also leave. All the sense organs also leave. But the Upanishad never talks about Stula Shariram at all. It talks about Sukshma Shariram, it talks about Chidabhasa. Of course, Karana Shariram included. But never talks about Stula Shariram at all. So that is the reason he asked this doubt. And if you did Bhagavad Gita also, 15th chapter, and that Mamaiva Amsho Jiva Loke, Jiva Bhuta Sanatanaha, Manashattani Indriyani, Prakritistani Karshati, all belongs to Sukshma Shariram only. Sthula Shariram is not at all mentioned here as also anywhere in the Upanishad. So Shruti and Smriti Vakyas, they establish that Sthula Shariram is not there for the disembodied Jiva. Disembodied Jiva need not carry the Sthula Shariram because wherever it goes, it can get a physical body with the Panchabhutas. Wherever it goes, it doesn't need to have its own body to carry. This looks like Siddhanta, if you superficially see, and this is the view of the Purvapaksha. This is not Siddhanta, it looks like Siddhanta, but this is a Purvapaksha's view. Siddhanta will give his views, of course. So the disembodied Jiva after death has got a rudimentary version of the next physical body even at the time of travel. This is what it says. The disembodied Jiva, the gross body is now cremated and all that. The disembodied Jiva, it has got at the time of death itself a rudimentary version of the next physical body it is going to take even at the time of travel. Now let us go to the first sutra, the first adhikaranam of the 3rd chapter. It's an interesting topic. Tadantara pratipattau ramhati samparishvaktaha prashna nirupanabhyam. Tadantara pratipattau ramhati samparishvaktaha prashna nirupanabhyam. First sutra, first section, 3rd chapter, 292nd running Brahma Sutra. We will see the general introduction of this adhikaranam, the first pada, 3rd chapter. It is fairly big adhikaranam with 7 sutras here. And the subject matter of this adhikaranam is Jiva Gati, as I mentioned. And the travel of the disembodied Jiva after dropping the present body, gross body, or after death. And that doubt with respect to the topic was what? Whether the disembodied body, the embodied Jiva, travels with a physical body, gross body, or without a physical body. And the Purvapakshi holds the view that it is evident that the physical body is dropped here, and the next body will come only in the next birth. Disembodied Jiva travels without a physical body, it travels with subtle body. All agree on this particular thing. There is no dispute at all among many darshanas. Disembodied body has Chidabhasa, Chit, Karana Shariram, and Sukshma Shariram. Now the controversy is that the Jiva after death travels with Sura Shariram or not. And Purvapakshi says evidently there is no Sura Shariram at all. Here Vyasacharya establishes here that the disembodied Jiva travels with the physical body. And only difference is what? The body is not a tangible or visible physical body. It is there in the minutest form one can think of. So this travels through these 5 locations, 5 stages as we mentioned. So as the minute body travels through the locations called the Panchagni, this unevolved rudimentary body transforms into full-fledged physically tangible Sura Shariram as it goes through these 5 stages. This is going to be established in the first adhikaran. So I'm just setting the background. Now let us do the general analysis of the sutra. And in this sutra, Vyasacharya establishes the presence of a minute physical body traveling from the disembodied Jiva. We discussed this in detail when we did Chandogya and other places. So this discusses the Panchagni Vidya occurring in the 5th chapter of Chandogya. And in that Panchagni Vidya, the Upanishad says that the disembodied Jiva is given a minute physical body by the Lord or by the Devatas. And this minute physical body evolves into full-fledged physical body in the next birth. So the preparation for this starts the moment the present body dies. It is not some future event. The preparation for this, getting another body, starts right here. And in keeping with the next fructifying prarabdha karma, minute physical body is given, and that body is named water. Here that body, minutest body, is named here as apaha, water, jala, jala sharira. Apaha little means water, but in the Panchagni context, apaha means the minute, unevolved physical body, something compared to a DNA. We can perhaps talk, say like that. We don't. Whether the new baby should have dark hair, fair hair, will be fair, dark, white, gray. Will it have a heart problem? All those things are all encoded in various these things in all these various signatures, like DNA, RNA, all of that, like a dot. It is so small things. So the minutest physical body is the blueprint of the Jiva in the next birth. I just only threw this example. Whether it has relevance or not, I don't even know. Just only for us to relate. So each location is called Agni, not physical Agni, but it assists evolution. The 5 stages is called Agni. I already mentioned earlier. So a cooking takes place by which the minute body passes on to the next stage of evolution. And what are the 5 stages? As I told, first one is Swarga, then Megha, the cloud, Bhumi, the earth, Purusha, the male, and Nari, the female. And the embodied Jiva with the Jala Shariram, the water body, enters Swarga first. It gets cooked there and comes out to the second stage and enters the clouds. As I told, the second one is Megha. And it gets cooked there and enters the earth, Prithvi, and gets cooked there and enters the male, and gets cooked there lastly and gets transferred to the female. Gets cooked in the earth means from all the plantations and all that thing. The food is taken and annam is taken by the male, and then it gives rise to all the rethas, all that thing. So in each stage of transformation, there is name difference to indicate the different stage of the body. So now we'll find what are the 5-fold conversion. So in the first stage, the Swarga stage, it is conversion of Jalam to Soma. The minutest body is called Jala Shariram, Apaha, in the form of minutest water. To Soma. Soma is the next one. So Jalam is also the name of the body, and Soma also is the name of the body. And the difference between Jalam and Soma is what? The Soma is more evolved than Jalam because of the transformation in Swarga. And the new name is not based on the transformation of Sukshma Shariram and Karana Shariram. The transformation takes place on the basis of the minute Stula Sharira of Jiva in the form of Jalam. So Jalam has also Soma. They've got also Chit, Chidabhasa and all that. And in Swarga, Jala Soma conversion takes place. Apahat Soma. And Soma Avastha, so the Stula Shariram is converted into Vrishti Avastha. The next, when it goes to Mega. Vrishti means the rain, rainy water. Literally, Vrishti is rainy waters. And here it refers to the Avastha of the physical body. It goes to a next stage. And there it becomes rainy water into the clouds. And the second conversion is Soma Vrishti conversion. So Jalam, Soma conversion, first stage. Soma Vrishti conversion next. And the third conversion is in Prithvi Bhumi, in the earth. And that is Vrishti Avastha. To in the Prithvi, it becomes Anna Avastha, food. Anna means the third evolved stage of the physical body, food. Which will have also Chichida, Basa, Sukshma, Karna, all that. Don't compare it with our food. This is a stage. And the fourth location is the Anna Bijam conversion, otherwise called the Retas or the seed in the male body. So Anna, the food, Bija conversion, the seed that takes place, that is the fourth stage, the male body. And finally, the Bija enters the body of woman, who is the cooking fire. So Bijam is converted, seed is converted to grass, Stula Shariram, grass body, which is named Purushaha. So Purushaha refers to the Sura Shariram here. So Jala Soma conversion, Soma Vrishti conversion, Vrishti Bijam conversion, Bijam Purusha conversion, and Purusha to the finally it becomes a grass body. So these are all the various 5 stages. And this evolution happens in the assembly line of the 5 stopovers as Swarga, Megha, Bhumi, Purusha, and Nari are the 5 stages. And whatever enters into Agni is taken as an oblation, as an Ahuti. Jalam is Ahuti in Swarga Agni. And Soma is Ahuti in the Ahuti Palam. By doing this Ahuti Homa, what is the Palam that comes out? Is Soma. And Soma is Ahuti in the Mega Agni. And what is the Palam? Vrishti, rainy waters. And Vrishti is the Ahuti in Bhumi Agni, and Annam is the Palam. And Annam is the Ahuti in the Purusha Agni, and Bijam is the Palam. And at the time of conception, the Bijam is the Ahuti in the Nari Agni, the female fire. And the Palam is the baby. And all the Ahutis are done by Devatas or the Lord. The intervention of Devatas is required. Why? As the conversions are to be governed by karma. The males of so many species are there, and appropriate females are to be there. Then only this. So it's all according to the Punya Papa karmas. So the Devatas have to intervene, make sure that they do the job right. Their appropriate karma ends up in the appropriate body, appropriate jiva. All these are governed by Punya Papa karmas. And Vyasacharya in this sutra says that Panchagni Vidya points out that Jalam alone gets converted into Purushaha ultimately. And in support of this, Vyasacharya quotes Chandogya Upanishad mantra. I talked about the context of the Panchagni Vidya teaching and the story of Javali and Gautama. Among the 5 questions asked by Javali, the king, one of them related to Panchagni Vidya, and the full-fledged body comes after the Jalam passes the 5th stage, and the 5 Ahutis, oblations, Swetaketu did not know. So the Jalam transforms itself to Purusha after passing through the 5 stages, and each stage is called Agni. So having given, I'll take only a couple of minutes, and having given the elaborate Panchagni teaching, Vyasacharya takes as his support, and this concluding statement occurs in the 5th chapter, 9th section, 1st mantra of Chandogya. Iti tu panjamyam ahutavapaha purushaha vachaso bhavanti iti sa ulbhavruto garbo dashava navava masanantaha shayitva yavadvata jayate. That is ulbhavruto garbo dashava navava masanantaha. In this manner, the minute physical body travels and becomes the full-fledged physical body. And this portion is important because we should know that the mother or father is not fully responsible for the determining the type of the body. These are all, when scriptures tell all these, it's all a big surprise to all of us. The mother or father is not fully responsible for determining the type of the body. The type of the body is determined at the time of death itself in the previous janma. The jiva has been associated with the body throughout. The minute Sthula Shariram was associated with jiva in Swarga also, associated in Mega, in Bhumi, and even in Purusha. And the Sthula Shariram is along with the jiva, and similarly, the fetus is associated with the jiva. Thus, we do not know when the jiva comes into the body at all. Panchagni Vidya says, jiva does not enter in a particular month, and jiva is there already even before entering the father, mother, or Prithvi. This is the general analysis of this sutra. Now let us see the word analysis in the next class. Yo vedado swara prokto vedante cha pratishtitaha tasya prakritilinasya parasa maheshwara. Sri Krishna arpanamastu. Purnamada purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavasishyate. Om shanti shanti shanti. Sri Gurubhyo namaha. Harihi Om. Sri Krishna arpanamastu.